Intelligence in Projectland with the great Hans Meijer, and many thanks to Ricardo Brett for being our producer here today. Let's just welcome you all to Projectland. I call it Projectland because the world of projects is very different than the world of operations. And one of the things that we're really passionate is about the people side of making projects successful in Projectland. And so if you're new to Projectland, welcome, welcome. And if you have been around for a long time, welcome to you as well. So this session is going to, as always, provide practical tips in going through a lot of the great ideas that Hans and I talked about together, and we thought we'd bring them to you, which is going to answer some questions like, what is emotional intelligence? What is the emotional quotient? Why is this important in Projectland? What are the top signs of highly emotionally intelligent human beings? Are you one of them, or do we have some work to do? And what are the pieces that make up EI? And one of them is self-awareness. And so we'd like to hear from you in the chat, which elements are most important to you? Which ones help you be most successful in your work? And then we'll provide some practical self-awareness tips. We'll talk about another element, which is self-regulation, really quickly, and just kind of give you an overview of the elements of that. And we'll give some tips as well about how to raise your EI in Projectland, and recap with why we should really care about it. And if you are a PMP, yes, you can get PDUs for this. So mark your time, and you can claim PDUs for this, which we'll give you some information about at the end. So I'm your host today, Dawn Mahan. On a good day on a real stage is from that picture. I am working on a book, as many of you know who are Book Insider VIPs. If you love books or you'd like to get your name in a book, you'll have the opportunity to do that for free. We can talk about that more at the end as well. So I've been around the block for a while as a Fortune 500 PMO leader. Somehow I got an award in project management for being a consultant, and I love gamification. I invented Project Flow to help people learn the PMI way really quickly and make that fast and fun. I am an international speaker. I've had the chance to do it in person and virtually internationally as well. So that's just a little bit about me and our brands, PMOtraining.com, Project Guru Academy, which is what you're on today, and the Project Gurus, which is the consulting side of the house. So just a little bit about me, your host today. And I'd like to welcome you, Hans Meijer, one of my international men of mystery friends here in South Florida, dialing in from South Florida today. How are you today, Hans?
I am excited to be here. Thank you for that invitation to be here today with all your attendees. I love it.
Yay. And I call you an international man of mystery because you are one of the people in my life who speaks multiple languages, right? So
that's right. Yes.
Originally from the Netherlands, so you speak Dutch, you
Spanish.
Fluent Spanish, so you and Ricardo go nuts, and I can only understand every other word if I'm lucky, and of course English. So welcome, my international man of mystery friend. And as you can see here, Hans has a wealth of experience and knowledge in the project management space, and even took our Project Flow 6 decoding project management micro certification gamification course, which is awesome. So Hans, when you and I talked about this, how did you get into studying about emotional intelligence? What got you excited about that?
Well, emotional intelligence has been around for a while. Daniel Goleman is the psychologist who actually made that into the mainstream to let people know that emotional intelligence, and we'll talk a little bit about that, is even more important than the IQ, your IQ. So the reason why I got involved in this, because I find it to be a fascinating topic to apply it in the project land and projects, right? If we don't have these soft skills of understanding what are your emotions and how you project emotions to other people, how people see you, I mean, it's an uphill climb to be able to be successful in projects. So I investigated some more. I read some books. I got involved with reading some of Daniel Goleman's book and kind of learned over the years, right? But lately, this is a big topic in projects. And in all the courses that PMI, Project Management Institute, teaches, they put a lot of emphasis on emotional intelligence.
And the IQ part of it was fascinating to me that we were discussing, right? So let's talk about that, about the IQ part.
Everybody, has, well, not everybody, everybody has an IQ, right? That's pretty standard. IQ normally does not change, but your emotionally intelligent quotient, which is your EQ, is the amount of emotional intelligence that you build up through your experience working in projects. So you should have good EQ in order to be successful. And then you can use your IQ, much better because you have your emotional intelligence available to deal with people. So according to current studies, EQ is now considered to be twice as important as your IQ. So and also experience and education for success, much more than all of this. So when you have good EQ, you can use your IQ to make rational choices. So to be smart is not only about your IQ. To be smart is about using your emotional intelligence. Wow. So your IQ is fairly fixed, right? So, but your EQ is the one that is going to raise your results in projects.
So why is being emotionally intelligent, in addition to just being, a smarty pants, so important in projects, do you think?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we could say about all that, but basically, why is emotional intelligence important in projects, right? In Projectland. So, like I said here, I have 3 check marks here. To better use emotional intelligence, right, the better a project manager can manage the projects and become a better leader. It's all about servant leadership, right? We talk about a lot about that in projects. Serving other people, servant leadership, that's what that means for the audience that is listening to us. So as a project manager, you certainly need to create a climate where your clients, your team members, your sponsors, and managers can communicate with very good clarity, deal more effectively with challenges, and make committed choices to act strategically and swiftly. Abraham Maslow, which a lot of probably the attendees know who he is, he came up with the famous triangle, the needs of people, right? And he used to say it's only a tool. If you the only tool that you have is a hammer, you will treat everything as a nail. So understanding and using emotional intelligence is now a critical for success in your projects. So this basically talks about this slide that we have here.
Yeah, right? and I found back to the IQ part, right? A little bit with this is I found that working with brilliant people over the years in lots of different industries, I've found that some of the brilliant people are able to work with humans just as well. But most of them, in my experience, don't really feel comfortable working with humans as much, right? And they don't, they're like, I just want to be brilliant and I don't really want to deal with, fellow human beings too much. That in the movies, it's always the guy in the basement, with all his computers and he lives with his mom and he, is eating pizza, right, delivered and in a dark place. So that's kind of what I'm always thinking about.
We want to be careful about this as well, how we portray this and say this about people who have high IQs. They have a special need in our projects. They're highly technical, they do phenomenal work in the area that they're good at, but they have certain limitations dealing with people, with the emotions, right? So that's what we're trying to stress here. It's not that people with high IQ are bad people,
That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the things for project managers that I feel is so important, is to identify in their teams and their team players, if you do have somebody that's brilliant that you need on your team, make sure, and that you feel might not be as emotionally intelligent as you'd like them to be, figure out what to do about that. Right. And I know we have some practical tips later to share. So tell us more about, how to discover whether or not we ourselves or our team members are emotionally intelligent here.
Well, I did some research and came up with these 5 bullets, right? Which basically tells you, if you want to see if somebody has high emotional intelligence, well, look at these pointers that I put on this slide here. They handle criticism without demand, excess, and anxiety. So they're very calm, they know how to deal with the situations, right? They are open-minded. See, this is so important, just because people are telling you one thing or another, don't take it personal. I mean, it's not about you. They are good listeners. Listen, and digest in a few seconds what they're trying to tell you before you answer back, because this is so important. Be calm, understand what they're trying to tell you, and then have your mind come back with an answer that pertains to what they're trying to tell you. And don't try to cut in right away. Don't put wood into the fire. That's what we mean by being a good listener. They don't sugarcoat the truth. The truth always prevails. I always say that. So you try to hide things, you try to go around in circles, that's not going to get you anywhere. And very important, I think this is a big one, which a lot of us, have learned throughout the years dealing with people. When you're wrong, and admitted it right away. So they apologize when they're wrong.
Nice. So yeah, the listening one is really interesting to me too, because I do a workshop that around the 7 styles of listening. So we have a workshop about, 4 communication styles. And I think a lot of people have been through lots of different kind of communication styles workshops, but not too many people know about the 7 listening styles. And you described perfectly, what the best listening style is. So that one is near to my heart.
Yeah, let me add something else to this slide here, if you don't mind. Today's workforce, today's people working in company have a very different needs relating to fulfilling their values. Today, employees, they are seeking a more of an alignment of their personal values with work. They will no longer sacrifice for the bottom line. So they're demanding to find more meaning in their workforce. We just listened recently, I don't know how many millions of people in the last couple of months left the workforce. They are fed up, and the project leaders must understand and accommodate for these differences to make sure that they have the right team and that they can do the right performance in the project. So emotional intelligence plays a big role in all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So tell us about the 5 components of emotional intelligence.
So Daniel Goleman, which is an American psychologist, helped popularize emotional intelligence. And by the way, he has plenty of books out there in the market that you can Google. His most famous one is obviously the one that's about emotional intelligence, but he also wrote several other ones like Working with Emotional Intelligence, Social Intelligence, right? He wrote that book. Ecological intelligence. So he's written many books. So he came up with these 5 components. He divided it in 2 areas, your personal skills and your interpersonal skills. So your personal skills are those 3: self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. And then your interpersonal skills are your interpersonal management skills and your leadership skills. In the call today, in this session, we're going to talk a little bit more about self-awareness, because we don't have time to go over all of these in detail. So maybe you want to tell the audience that we will have future other sessions where we may explain some of these other ones.
Yeah, we're trying to keep this one to about 30 minutes or so. So we can't dive into the, the volumes of it here, but we can, if there's interest, we'll keep this going and we'll keep diving into the different pieces. But this is a great overview about the personal and then the interpersonal. That's really helpful. So I know a lot on this slide, but if you can give us the,
yes,
give us the skinny, and then anybody that is listening right now while we're live, if you take a look at these, I'd love to know, along with Hans, of course, which are the most important to you in your work right now. So go ahead and take us through it, Hans, and folks will
yes. So we talk about self-awareness, which is one of the three areas that we talk about ourselves, right? So we got emotional awareness, accurate self-assessment, and self-confidence. So these are things that you need to identify yourself as, being your main elements, and these have to be important for you. So self-awareness refers to the capacity to recognize and understand your emotions and have a sense of others' emotions of other people and how you react to those, your own emotions and other people's emotions. So it's very important. So emotional awareness, know your feelings, knows what triggers you, right? Perceive connection between feelings and behavior. How do you react on your feeling? How do you react? Are you aware of it? Do you keep track of it? Do you document it? Do you see whether you are handling yourself better or not? Recognize that how emotions affect performance, right? We talk about, if you're under a lot of pressure because of time constraint or because you need to deliver, have something completed in the next day or two, and you have a lot of pressure, well, that emotion is going to affect your performance. Being conscious of values and goals as well. So you need to do an accurate self-assessment. You need to determine what are your strengths and weaknesses. Be aware of your blind spots, okay? Identify those. Make sure that if something is about to happen and that's one of your blind spots, make sure you know how to react to that blind spot. Knowing your emotional triggers. What triggers you? Document it. I keep telling you, document it and study that and find out if you're getting over that over time, if you're controlling it. Self-confidence, expressing potential unpopular opinions. Remember, I told you, it's not about you personally. People are going to give you unpopular opinions. We are in a divided country right now with COVID. Different people have different opinions. But, take it in, absorb it, control that emotion. Taking risks, you got sometimes think out of the box, do things differently. Why are we doing it the same way? The status quo. Take risk, displaying poise, being self-assured of yourself. The team, if you're the PM, your team needs to make sure that you are self-assured of the things that you're doing. Having knowledge of self-esteem proficiencies, okay, having the right tools, having the right skills, develop that, do more trainings, that you need to do that. Being decisive. Your team needs to know that once you make a decision, you are decisive about what the decision you're making or suggesting to them as well when you're collaborating with all your team members. So that's basically the slide, Dawn.
Yeah. And, the self-confidence part, when I look at all of those bullets, I see basically the definition of how you have to act as a project manager. In many cases, you're the one expressing the potentially unpopular opinion, right? You're the one that has to have the courage, right, to do that, to express the opinion of, it may not be your own opinion. It may be just bringing the, awareness of what the opinions are of some of the stakeholders that may be unpopular, and doing that in a way that is is confident, but not overly so, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't come off as arrogant. And the decisiveness in Projectland is so especially important because we are on a schedule, right? We have to get stuff
Yes.
done.
You got to
Perfect
get things done.
So you gotta, my thing is you can always make another decision later, right? Make the decision, make it on time, and you can always make another decision later.
Yeah.
So,
So just to complete this slide, if you don't have self-awareness, if you have low awareness, it is a handicap in project management. It will be a handicap.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely true. So, so I love this slide. For me, I think this is wonderful because I got disconnected from my feelings for many, many years, which is a whole other story. So I just love this. So take us through this.
Yeah, we were taught not to deal with our feelings in the past, right? That we said, no, don't bring in emotions into decision making. Now it's very different. Now we have to use our emotions. So use your physical senses to alert you to the feelings, your tightness in the stomach, tension in your neck, feeling that you're going down in a hole, I mean, that everything is just being overwhelmed on you. Name the feeling. Are you angry? Are you disgruntled, upset, or furious? Document that in a journal. Keep track of it. See how you can overcome this over time, right? You want to be in a safe zone always when you're dealing with emotions. Seeking input from others. That is tough, right? Hey, ask the other person. Hey, how do you think I reacted? That is a tough one, and you got to be receptive to what they're going to tell you, because you may not like it, right? Take time to reflect about your intentions behind your feelings. Take time, meditate about that, think about it, think it through.
Yeah, so, and the seeking input from others, to me is really interesting because that's scary sometimes, to people. But I really love that one because you cannot see yourself, right? You do not have a mirror in front of you all the time. I mean, now we have this video where I can see myself talking at the moment. So I see how I look, right? But usually when you're in person with people, it's not like you have that mirror. So how am I perceived, right? I can't know how you're perceiving me right now. I can only ask for feedback about how I'm being perceived and the thing I learned from a great boss a long time ago was that perception is reality for people.
That is right. Perception is reality. Absolutely.
So taking that input kind of gives you that window and gives you that mirror that you need to know how you're being perceived, especially if you're in a leadership role. You need to understand how people are perceiving you so that you can, make adjustments accordingly. So I know we don't have a lot of time to dive into all the material you have on the self-regulation, but I'm really curious, about this.
Yeah.
If you could take us through.
So yes, so we got these five over here, these 5 elements, and these come from Daniel Goleman, of course, in his book. Self-control, I'll give you an example, remaining cool under pressure. Self-control is about remaining cool under pressure. Trustworthiness, acknowledging errors, right? Challenging others' immoral conduct. That's a tough one because we don't want to hurt other people, right? Conscientiousness, being accountable for fulfilling the goals that you've been asked in the company, right? You need to be aware of that. Adaptability, adapting to change events. We don't like to do changes. We're very comfortable what we do day to day. And again, I always ask my students and I ask everybody, don't always do the status quo. Ask, why are we doing it? Why can't we change it? Can we do it better in projects, right? And innovation, producing fresh ideas. Come up with fresh ideas, right? I mean, we got intelligent people in the team. Ask them to voice their opinions, to talk freely in meetings, and maybe we capture some good ideas. People have good ideas. We just have to listen to them.
Yeah, good ideas can definitely come from anywhere. I mean, and part of this, I think, is it's actually one of my triggers. You and I talked about that before, Hans, right? When if I offer an idea and then 10 minutes later, somebody's like, oh, here's a great idea. And I'm like, yeah, like I just said 10 minutes ago, right? That makes me cry. That's a trigger for me. So
Yeah.
I really have to watch myself, with my self-regulation when that comes up. But good ideas can come from anywhere. So if you're the facilitator as the project manager, watch out for that one, right? Watch out for, and making sure that people are acknowledged appropriately for the ideas that they bring forward, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to you.
All right. So yeah, we're covered this slide. We can move on.
So I love this one too. And I know you have like 12 of these, and I pulled 5 of them, for that were sort of my favorites. So let's talk about them.
Yeah. So how can we raise our emotional intelligence in Projectland? I mean, this is what we need to do continuously. Well, how can we get better, and how can we control better our emotions? Well, understanding emotions are not good or bad. I mean, they're not either good or bad. They provide us cues on valuable information, and how we handle that information is what's important. How are we going to react from that emotion? Identify your triggers and triggers for your project team, and pre-plan how to deal with them. Make sure that you always have something ready to follow up when these triggers do occur. Don't walk away from the triggers. Okay, you gotta face them. That's the reality. Avoid sarcasm and gossip. That's something that we as human beings, unfortunately, it's a bad habit that we have. We talk about people's back. We use sarcasm, to communicate. That's not going to get you anywhere in your projects. So you need to control that, right? That's part of your emotions. Listen. We spoke about that, and we can not only mention it 3 times. We can say listen 10 times. Let other people tell you how they feel, right? And how they say, that's about good listening. Avoid taking things personally. I already mentioned to you that. I mean, don't take it personal.
Yeah, and that's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do sometimes. But especially at work, it's something, if the people that want to do a great job really do sometimes take some of the things that happen at work personally. And we have to think about, where is this other person coming from? Right. And a lot of times they're coming from a place of fear, and, and they need some love. Right. So I feel, that's a lot of times worse.
Yeah, unfortunately now with COVID, we are all socially distanced, and we're all virtual. So we cannot hug somebody and say, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, that's so we're missing that. And COVID has had I want to also mention that COVID has had a huge impact on emotional intelligence. Absolutely. I think I discussed it with you.
It's so, and it's so hard. And we talked about this, you and I, before, and I just want to bring it up again, that because we're not in person now, many of us, some of us are, some people are, in the office, but they're wearing masks if they're in the office. And so you're missing out on all of that body language, that, and the feeling that you get with people when you're in person. It's great. Virtual is great for a lot of reasons, but you, especially the people that don't put on their cameras, you're missing out on all that information that you get from, the body language.
Yeah. Harold Keshner said in communication, 7% is verbal, 30% is tone of voice, and the rest is all body language. So if we don't have that available to us because people have their camera off, we're missing a lot. The body language is so important in communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think, that EI is a big deal. So we have this bonus, quote here from the great Daniel Goleman, and that this is really the promise, I think, of EI and concentrating on EI, where and I love to talk about, as in some of my talks, about creating a healthy culture that gets results.
Sure.
And that we as project managers and PMO leaders, we can create a bubble for our project, for our PMO, where we can create a healthy culture that gets results. And so when you look at this, that's what I think about, at least when we look at this great
Okay.
promise of EI. Yeah. So let's kind of recap a little bit about and dive a little deeper into why we should care about EI and Projectland as sort of a wrap up. And any of you that are live with us, if any of these really resonate with you, we'd love to hear which
Yeah, this is a slide that has a lot of information. So I would like the audience to kind of glance into it and read it and maybe make a comment on the chat if they want to. I would appreciate that very much. But the end of all of this, of emotional intelligence, is to create an environment where everybody feels safe, where everybody can speak without impacting, the emotions of the other person, without taking it personally, and that everybody feels that they're working for what the goals are in your projects, trying to get your project moving. We all put a lot of emphasis on time, schedule, and cost, and the use of the resources in project. But, we can work 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week. I mean, I find that many times in companies that is not being efficient. Efficient is about managing, using your skills to your utmost capacity, having a team that is collaborating with each other. We use a lot the word collaboration nowadays, and the results are going to be that people are going to use their best interest in moving forward the project. So I like this fourth bullet here. People will only expend the resources on that which is meaningful to them. This is something very important. They're only going to put emphasis on what is meaningful for them, what is going to get them results for them. So the PM needs to make sure that they understand that as well.
Yeah, that's the WIFM, right? The what's in it for me.
What's in it for me?
Yeah, the what's in it for me for most people, which is why, this great resignation I think is happening, is, in some cases, is because they're not getting the what's in it for me.
Yeah.
They're getting the, well, you're lucky to have a job. Well, I'd like to work for a place where I feel like I can bring my best self and have some meaning in my work. So
yeah, nowadays, millennials, we're talking about millennials, they only spend about 2.5 years to 3 years in companies. It's because if they don't see that they're going to get results and the company is not going to give them what they want, they just move on. I mean, that's the reality. So companies are changing their mentality right now. People are leaving jobs because they're dissatisfied. They're looking for other opportunities, maybe working from home, virtual. People are understanding now, they're being more powerful in negotiating their contract nowadays, because employers are suffering right now. They cannot get people. There's a huge amount of jobs available, and employers are going through a tough time recruiting.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So in this last bit, right, is really about, as project managers, as PMO leaders, we really can, and this is what I think we all, the good ones, right, that we all strive for is moving the team up to performing, having them have an excellent experience as part of the project, and trying to bring our best selves to, to the people that we're serving. So
that's correct. Yeah.
I love this. This is awesome. So just to, wrap it up, if you're a PMP, you just earned some PDUs. And so for however long you were on with us, you can, claim those PDUs in the leadership area. And if you want to learn more with the Project Guru Academy, me, Hans, and others, check it out. We have some cool stuff coming up and to help you develop your skills and experience in Projectland. And we are considering a larger, much larger, than the half an hour-ish that we've been on today, emotional intelligence and Projectland workshop. So if you're interested in that, please get in touch with us and let us know so that we can decide, what the demand is for this kind of workshop, and where we can dive into all the details and all the components of emotional intelligence and work on ourselves, right, together, which would be a lot of fun. So Hans, Thank you so much for being here on our first LinkedIn Live with me and Ricardo. And Ricardo, thank you so much for making this all happen as our producer behind the scenes here. Thank goodness for you making it all work. And Hans, always so good to see you. And I saw some comments that people are liking the beard.
Yes, that's my COVID look.
That's the COVID winter beard. And, you know, I heard that, you know, the missus approves it. So thank goodness.
Yeah.
So
great.
We're going to for today.
I am excited that you've invited me, and count on me in the future if anything you need from me.
Great. Awesome. Well, you know, we'll see you back here. This looks like, you know, it's working. So that the technology is working for us, which is great. And I certainly always love learning from you, Hans. Yeah. Thank you so much for the fun conversation as always. Thanks to those.
Good. Can you, Don, can you screen back? Can you move all the way back? Make sure that we show the references where we got the information.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure because I want to also let the audience know that I did do some research work to get the information. Okay.
Yeah, and again, you know, Daniel Goleman has many books that you can check out and Google and so forth. But yes, thank you for the reminder to make sure that people understand, you know, where we got some of this information.
Yes.
And as always, get in touch with us, LinkedIn with us, Instagram with us, Twitter with us, Facebook with us, and please follow this page, Project Guru Academy, if you haven't already, so that you get notices about future experts like Hans. And, you know, Hans will certainly have you back, of course, that will be able to share with you some free information about that so that you can get your skills and experience up in Projectland in 2022 and beyond. So thank you so much, Hans. Have a great rest of your day, sir, and everybody that's joined us live.
Yeah, thank you, Ricardo, also for assisting. Appreciate it, Ricardo.
He's the best.